All right, so this is the June 8th edition of the Key Ministry Idea Share. I'm Beth Golick from Key Ministry. Catherine Boyle is here as well. She's our Director of Mental Health Ministry. And this is the, 10th or 11th or so of these weekly idea shares that we've been having that we started when we all had to change the way we do ministry because of COVID-19. So again, these are a discussion, so we want you to participate as much as possible. And so I will get us started by just asking what's going on this week. I know a lot of you actually went back to service, or some of you had services this week. So anybody can jump in and fill us in on what's going on.
I just wanted to take a minute and introduce myself.
Yeah, please.
I joined a few weeks ago. I saw it on the Facebook page, and then I was just very curious about it. So I'm really just here as an observer. I'm actually a director of special education for a district here in my hometown of Jamestown, New York, and I'm very passionate about individuals with disabilities and their access to faith and faith communities. And so for me, this is just a learning experience. I've had a real passion to, in my local community, begin a special needs ministry because there's not a lot here for our families. So I just wanted to say hello and just not be, the shy guy in the corner on your screen, not saying anything. But I think, everything I'm seeing that you guys are doing, I think it's awesome. And so I just wanted to say hello and introduce myself.
Well, thank you, Brett. Welcome. Yes, we welcome people to join all the time, and that's what's been so great about this group. I feel like I've met so many new people and have used so many of your ideas at my church, so I thank you for that. Welcome, and everybody's welcome to be a fly on the wall if they want, or share. We're just all here to learn from each other. Anybody else want to introduce themselves or tell us what's going on at your church? Yes, Sylvia, right? Sylvia.
Right. I'm Sylvia Taylor. I'm from First Baptist Church of Glen Arden, Maryland. I'm the director of the Special Needs Ministry. I'm an occupational therapist by profession. So I started the ministry in 2008. And no, we are not open.
Maryland is definitely not open.
Not here in Prince George's County anyway, which is where I am, right in the middle of everything that's going on. So we are not even out of phase one. In fact, thinking maybe we might shut down again, but who knows. But I joined once before because I saw it on something, I don't know. But that's basically how I've been spending my days, just finding out what other people are doing, how to support our families. We do a buddy break program. And so we have a number of families who participate in that. And we do Sunday school classes for 3 groups of individuals. 2 of our Sunday services are conducted. We have Sunday school classes for children, youth, and adults. So right now we are just looking at each other on screens.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, thank you for introducing yourself. And yeah, so it's great to have so many different states represented because we're in all such different phases right now. Just curious, I love how Sylvia and Brett both shared how they heard about this or how they think they heard about it. They saw it somewhere, probably on Facebook. How many of you are here because you received how many of you joined Idea Share the first time because you saw something on social media about it? Okay, so a couple. How many received an email from Key Ministry about it the first time? Okay, how, like other people, how did you We're just curious because how the word gets out. Anybody want to share?
I think actually I do get the emails. I see social media because I see it there too, but I think I've been getting team ministry emails for a long time now. It's been really hard for me to jump in on these idea shares because there's at least every other week there's another Zoom that I have to attend.
Mm-hmm.
I've missed a lot of them and I try to keep up, but I'm glad that you record them. I'm in Texas, and
you're more open than Maryland for sure.
Well, a lot of the churches are. Our church, we just found out today, is not going to open up until July 11th and 12th.
Okay.
Because of our capacity, and we're still under every other row. We will not be opening any kids ministries, no special needs ministries. It'll only be service times. They did a survey, and 50% of the people that answered said they would definitely want to come back. Okay. So we don't know really what to expect in terms of how many come back. So we're planning on continuing doing our Zoom for now for our special needs. I'm gonna add in at least one more class now that school's out.
Yeah.
So that's working for a lot, but it's just hard. So
yeah. I'm curious, how many of your churches have been doing an outdoor service? Anyone? Okay, Doc, yes. Catherine? I was hoping a whole bunch of you, because my next question is something I personally want to know, and I was hoping a whole bunch of you had experience. So our church is looking to, at the end of June, so the last Sunday in June, to do an outdoor service. And so it would still be a reservation type thing, like, you sit in your little social distancing groups. The details are not worked out yet, but so I'm the director of the special needs ministry there, part of children's ministry, and we're looking at doing some kind of like a grab bag for kids that come. So the idea is they can just grab it. Nobody's touching anything but the thing that they take. And we're picturing kind of like a brown paper lunch bag with some items in it just to, help with the fidgets or whatever. Curious if any of you are doing it, because I was totally hoping to pick your brains today on that one. Yeah, Amanda.
Hey, Beth. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt somebody.
No, go ahead.
We did last week. We actually had 2 for the first time. We haven't done any like outdoor services, pretty big church, but last week we did on Wednesday, we called it a lament and prayer service. And we did that as we did a drive-in service for that. And that was like in response to, all the racial injustices and stuff that we're seeing in the world. And we just wanted to have kind of a time that we could come together and lament and pray. And so we did do a drive-in service, but then also yesterday we did we call it Recognition Weekend, which we normally, recognize our kids 5th grade, 8th grade, and 12th grade that are going through transitions. Mm-hmm. And we did a drive-in for that. And we just had, I think what made it successful is we had a lot of staff. And that works for us because we have a large staff, because we are a large church. But we had people like directing traffic. There was a really a very designated flow for how things were going to go. And everybody was, I kind of felt like we were beating a dead horse when I was in all these meetings, these logistic meetings, but then it actually went off without a hitch. And I think the kids felt really celebrated, and we were able to give each kid a gift. Mm-hmm. 5th graders got Bibles, just different kind of gifts. And we had just a team that would we did hand them to them, but we also there were gloves and wipes and the whole 9 yards. And and so that went really well. And but I think the planning and the logistics, the actual execution of it was really smooth, but it was because there was a lot of behind the scenes logistical stuff. Our hospitality team helped out a ton just with traffic patterns and directing and all that stuff, but it really did go very well. And then the lament service did too. It was really organized and pretty seamless about first come, first best spots, however you want to do it. But it went pretty well.
Good. Good. So in case you don't know, Amanda is in Southern Ohio, correct?
I'm in Columbus, Ohio. I'm
Central.
sorry, guys. I didn't
Okay.
even say.
Yeah.
I'm in Columbus, Ohio, which is Central Ohio,
Central Ohio.
and I coordinate the special needs ministry at Vineyard Columbus, which is a multi-campus church in Columbus, Ohio, and the
I was
surrounding
thinking you were
areas.
Vineyard in Cincinnati. Okay.
Oh,
Vineyard.
that's autumn.
Okay.
No, yeah, yeah. So, yeah, that's us.
Okay. And I'm in Northeast Ohio. So we're
neighbors.
Same state, and there are a couple other Ohioans on here too. And we're in a sort of, we're not wide open. We're opening. So
Yeah.
that's where Ohio is right now.
Yeah, lots is opening, but we're not open. We're waiting for, just some more clearances to go through. And then our goal is when the governor of Ohio would give that like go ahead to, those larger sized groups, that we would be ready.
Mm-hmm.
So we're trying to put it in place, but we also recognize that, the special needs ministry and children's ministry in general, we have a program for children and adults, but we're not going to be ready with our volunteers and buddies. So it's going to look family style for at least a couple of weeks until we kind of get used to being back in and figuring out who do we have, what are our volunteers like, who's coming, that kind of the logistical things. So
yeah, family style. I like that.
Family style. Yeah.
And Madison has shared in the chat that they've been having outdoor services under a tent in front of the church, and that's in Greenville, South Carolina. So, so there's another state represented. Autumn.
I could share, we haven't opened yet, but we are planning a family event called Songs and Stories, where we'll be outside for that. I think it's somewhat a test of how many families we're going to see. And then we have had them announce that we will be opening our building July 18th and 19th. But, that's just now announced last week announcement. We don't know answers to most of the questions on how that's going to go. So
yeah, we're all kind of waiting to see what what others are saying and what our governors are saying, and yeah, it's interesting what school districts are saying. So Al is from Liquid Church in New Jersey, which is a multi-campus church, and so he's asking in the chat, asking of Amanda if all of your campuses will open at once. So I know a few of you are at multi-campus churches. So how's that working?
No, we will not all open at once. So I mostly attend our main campus, which we have like that, it's the biggest of our campuses. And we're trying to get away from that main campus idea, but we have 4 other campuses, and we have an online campus now as well. And so obviously online's been meeting, but we are going to do a kind of a softer open. Probably we don't have dates yet, but again, like when we're waiting to kind of hear groups of like 250. When those groups can gather, then we'll start opening those campuses as it goes. But right now, as far as I've heard, that's not what's going on. We don't have any of our campuses open except for our online.
Beth, I can take this in the chat if you want. Madison said that, and she's from Greenville, South Carolina, that they have 12 campuses currently at Grace at their church, and all of their campuses have opened. They all vary in sizes. We're allowing 20% of our capacity in each of the worship centers. So it varies in size depending on the campus, but all of ours are open. Beth had a barking dog, sorry.
I had a question and maybe some inspiration, I don't know. So I'm out in California. We have a larger-ish church, like compared to all the other churches. And we are like in no way opening, I don't think, at any point in maybe 2020, maybe like when school starts, if that's going well, and people are sending their kids to school. And that's a big question of who's sending their kids back to school. So we're kind of like, and we haven't really received any guidance. The state says we can't really meet at all if you have a church this size. So what we are trying to do, and what's kind of happened organically, is small groups meeting off-site in public, like outdoor places. But we are currently, working through as a church staff, what do we say? I think the official state regulations are like 10 people and under. Some counties are allowing 15, which is kind of the size of you could get a decent small group going there. So we're trying to figure out, like, does the church say, we have a huge property, like big field, do we say people can meet on the field? Is that like considered too much church for the state? Would we rather have people be meeting in their backyards or at parks? I think we are definitely going toward like the house church model from, summer through fall and probably winter. So I don't know if anyone in a state that's a little bit more tight on their restrictions, what you guys are doing about that. Because it's kind of happening organically, and in terms of special needs and disability, we're trying to provide respite for individual families, and we're trying to do it at our church because we think it's safer that way for everyone. But I don't know if anyone else has any insight or inspiration on that.
Anyone? I'm seeing a lot of shaking heads no.
I'm in California too, and we're trying the same thing where small groups are meeting. The only issue is the bathrooms. So it can't be at a public park. It needs to be at someone's backyard. They need to enter through the side or on the church property. But you can't have too many people because then you still have everybody gathering in the bathroom, washing their hands. So it is hard, but I think if you did like a Google Docs and you just did times and everybody got a 2-hour allotment, there would be less overlap, and then just have a half an hour gap when no one's there just to be safe. That's kind of what, we're thinking. And then also we are trying to do a respite in June, and it probably is only going to be for maybe 3 families, and that's it, and then try another week and just offer that. So that's what we're doing. And I'm kind of near Oakland, San Francisco, Santa Clara, so we're really still on shelter in place.
Okay, yeah, we're in Davis, so we're maybe like a week or 2 ahead of you. So that's really helpful, actually.
So in Ohio, playgrounds will, I think, are opening up in 2 days. I think it's June 10th that outdoor playgrounds are opening up. And so one idea that our children's ministry so we're kind of a large church. And so within children's ministry, we have like a preschool ministry leader and a like babies and toddlers leader. And because their population, Zoom calls aren't really Zoom gatherings aren't really big for babies. But they really want to engage their people. And so they are looking at doing maybe weekly kind of a meet in the park for a story from, Miss Mary and Miss Melissa kind of thing, which I think could really work. Again, we're a little bit ahead of California and Maryland in terms of gatherings. But that's something that they're looking at now that parks are going to be reopening.
I'll jump in. I was going to say for us, and one thing, I think most churches anymore have small groups that they work in their churches. And what our church did, I'm in Kansas, and what our church did, we're back now, starting to meet small numbers, have to RSVP, but first couple of weeks, we were calling it church and home. Or church at your house, and encourage all the small groups to be meeting in the house, or if the groups were too big to go ahead and then break into a couple groups and meet in their houses and do that. If you weren't in a small group and then they had people who were opening their homes to allow people to come in. So that was one way that they were, and then they were able to do service, stream it all together and still feel like they were having some community there. And so that's in a couple of churches I've been working with. That's what they're starting to do, where they're not allowed to have anyone more than 10 people, but those restrictions don't really apply when you're in someone's personal home for some of the states. So you're able to have those 10 people and still do okay with that. So that's another option that some might be able to do.
Thank you, Doc. There's a great question in the chat, and I love this, so I want to talk about it. But are churches that are reopening also continuing their online services? So some churches had online services to begin with. My sense in talking to ministry leaders like all of you and on some of these things is that, yes, churches will continue. I think this has been one of the huge blessings is we've realized how we've been able to reach people that we couldn't before. And so I think if your church wasn't doing online before, you probably realized how important it is to continue doing it. So show of hands, how many of you think your churches will continue to do online even once we're back in person? Yeah, that looked like 100% to me. And I think like my church was one that had been doing online before, but we've certainly upped our game. And I know that's the same for a lot of churches. So yes, it's been one of the blessings, I suppose, of the pandemic. Yes.
We didn't
Go ahead, Lida.
Hi, yes, thank you. We're in New York State, and we still have a lot of gathering restrictions. For instance, we wouldn't be able to gather 10 people in somebody's home if they have not been with each other throughout all this isolation. That wouldn't be something we could do. The reason I asked is I support through an agency of adults who have disabilities. And I'm pretty sure that it's going to be months, perhaps next year, or when there's a vaccine, before the people I support, hundreds of them, are able to go back to their worshiping communities, to the building. So the online presence, and then I'm wondering, something that I've been working with and not getting a good response, I'm really surprised at it, how to keep people with disabilities connected to that community. One, if they don't have access to the technology, and two, as time goes on and other responsibilities come up in leaders' lives, and so they kind of get bumped back and kind of being neglected. So I'm just curious about the continuation of the online services and how to include the people who get left out.
So I definitely have some thoughts on this, but I'd rather open it up to all of you. What suggestions do you have, or what are you kind of thinking about in terms of, once we're back in person, how to continue to reach folks like, that are perhaps in group homes that will not be able to physically come back until maybe there's a vaccine. Any thoughts on that?
We had thought about we have some families that said, even if you guys open in the fall, or they're not sending their kids to school and all that. And so I thought, instead of in the past where most of the interaction and all happens on the Sunday mornings and we're all in person and all the buddies kind of do that, we would have kind of two different ministry tracks, I guess, or volunteer tracks. We'd have the online track, the people who engage that way, like the virtual track, and then whatever the in-person looks like. So, identifying the families that are going to be online or virtual, and then pairing them with the buddies and the volunteers who that's like their role. That's like how they serve as virtual. And we thought about the fact that, there will be some volunteers also who might not be able to come back right away. So maybe they're the ones that engage in that virtual track. So we thought about we're going to have to look at it, instead of everyone's here on Sundays or, Tuesdays or whatever, we're all going to be in different spots for a while. And we thought about that even for our parent support group. Some people want to, usually in the summer we meet like out at restaurants on patios and stuff. Like some people want to do that, they're ready to go, and some people are not. So we thought, do we run two groups instead of one? And so just, I think, shifting and splitting kind of how that goes.
I love that. Thank you, Bronwyn. One thing I particularly love about that is you're thinking about your volunteers as well, and really realizing that some volunteers aren't going to be able to come back into the building. So I love the idea of kind of expanding the volunteer, how you think about volunteers, and maybe designating some to specifically do online activities. I love that. Thank you. Great idea. One thought I had is if there's and this might not be the case, but if there's a group home, like where there's several residents that you're trying to engage and want them to participate, but they can't be in your building yet, at some time down the road, can you send a volunteer to them and kind of facilitate, combination of the streaming the service, or doing like a class or something in the group home, even if they can't come into the church building. So that's another idea there. Let's talk about volunteers a little bit again, just because Bronwyn brought it up, but I think it's so important that we don't forget about our volunteers, because suddenly when you are ready to go back in person, you might find that your volunteers have kind of checked out. So anybody, I know we've brought this up before, but I love all of your ideas. What are some things you're doing to continue to engage your volunteers? Or what things do you want to do to continue to engage your volunteers? I know Doc's keeping his busy because he's working on an online camp. Anybody else working on anything that's involving volunteers?
Okay, I'll chime in.
Yeah, sure, Julie.
In Virginia, we're in Virginia, Lynchburg, Virginia, and one of the things that I love our special needs director, because she is all about being in person as much as you possibly can, and with caution, of course, because we have to. But what she's been doing is recruiting the volunteers to do driveway visits. Mm-hmm. So that has been a real plus, because she's actually doing a better job at bringing the special needs volunteers together than the rest of the church is bringing the rest of the volunteers together. So I think she's innovative in what she's creating for them. So she'll put together little kits and things for the kids, because they can't really engage. Some of them can't even engage in a Zoom meeting, so what can we do to love on them? So that's one thing that they're doing. And then I think I mentioned in this group before that we have a sensory room at our church. And so she is, people make reservations, or she's reaching out and sending an invitation to families who have kids with special needs to come into that sensory room with a half-hour interval, so that she can disinfect everything again. And so that has been a real blessing to the families in our area. So both of those things require some volunteer help. And so she's done a good job. And she also sends out an email, and y'all are probably doing this too, but she sends out an email every single week to the team, she calls them. And so she keeps engaged with them in a good way.
That's great, thank you. And I know, believe me, I've been listening on all these idea shares, and I've been taking your ideas back to my church. We are sending out a survey to all of our special needs families asking, what of these things would you be interested in? And one of them was these little driveway meetings, like socially distancing driveway meetings. So I know we all have very different churches, different staffing and all that. The third Wednesday of every month, we have a disability ministry video roundtable. So it's very similar to this, but it's with a particular topic. And so the one for June, so Catherine, I'm going with this. The one for June is going to be we're going to talk about staffing solutions or I forget, we had a great title for it at one point. But we're going to be talking about staffing in like in disability ministry and special needs ministry. So this was a roundtable that we were going to be doing back in March. And then when coronavirus hit, we switched over and we started talking about that. So, so you all will get an email about that. And I hope that you can all join in, because it's really helpful to hear what other churches are doing. And especially like Bronwyn's idea of maybe expanding, you know, even your volunteers to have like an online person and the in-person person. I think these are some of the things we're going to need to talk about as we continue to talk about, you know, how we staff our ministries. So that's a little plug for the third Wednesday. Trace, is that the 17th? I don't know. Somebody do the math for me. Is that, it would be the third Wednesday. Let's see, June 1, 2, 3. Yes, that'll be Wednesday the 17th at noon Eastern time, and we'll get all that on the website. So here's my we'll do our little promo here. So on keyministry.org/events, that's where you'll find it. It's not up there right now, but I will get it up there. And that's where all of these types of meetings and events are on there. So everything we're doing, that Key Ministry is doing right now, obviously is on Zoom and not in person. But we will continue to, you know, post our trainings and our webinars, and if, you know, if we're speaking at conferences, those will be on there. Let's see, what else? There was somebody, yes, I bet, Allison, did you do something this weekend that we were waiting to hear back on?
Yes, I was just...
Okay, good.
Yes, so I came on, so it was a success.
Okay.
So I'm in Pennsylvania, and we went to Phase Yellow Friday 4th. And on Saturday, so it kind of links in with what we were saying about volunteers and families, I reached out to my volunteers who would normally help on a respite night, and was actually had 20 responses almost immediately, and then had to say, actually, I only need 12. And we did a drive-by pizza pickup and a craft pickup for families of special needs, and it actually went really well. It probably needed to be a little bit more organized, because I had 17 children suddenly sign up, you know, at like 10 p.m. the night before, and I'm like, I've got enough crafts. So that was a bit of a panic, but just seeing, and what was lovely was most parents, it was, you know, just either the mum or the dad came to pick up everything. We had our volunteers, all the socially distanced spacing, masks, changing gloves, but a lot of our teenage kids with special needs were sitting in the back seats of the car giving cheery waves, and it was lovely to see so many. I think we ended up with 23 families came to pick up pizzas, and then about 50 children ended up with craft activities through those families. So it went well, and it was lovely to have, as I say, I had 11 volunteers there as well, so it felt very social. That was the first time I've been with that many people, but not my immediate family. And I was also going to jump on and say, thinking again of volunteers, I picked up on an idea somebody shared last week about the chalk art, the obstacle course. Somebody said,
I forget.
They were in California. I'm in Pennsylvania, so the rain would just wash away the chalk art. But I've got permission to paint it, the obstacle course, on in our parking lots and on the sidewalks. And I'm actually going to get the seniors who have been helping out at respite nights to come and do it. So it's a bit of a legacy to them. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that coming through.
Cool.
So that was thanks to, I can't remember, I'm so sorry. Somebody had that great idea last week.
I was going to say,
so thank you.
Yes. Oh, that's awesome. You're going to have to.
So it was a neat way to tie up a few.
Yeah, I'll definitely want to see pictures of that. That is so cool. Thank you. Wow. Ooh, it's hard to top that one. Yes, slide it.
A really cool idea. We have a very supportive church that people who live in 2 of our group homes attend. And this church has embraced them and welcomed them from the beginning, which is really good because they had been asked to leave another church. So that was hurtful. So the fact they found this wonderful, welcoming church is great. And the church, as part of embracing them when they first started attending, is they moved one of their family small groups to one of our group homes, so that the folks that live there, who all use wheelchairs and receive nutrition via G-tubes and things like that, were all able to be part of a small group, and the group came to them. So that was amazing. But something else that this church has done since the shelter in place happened, and this is something they're doing for the staff, not for the people that live there. And it's very simple, but it has had huge impact, is every week they have 2 sheet pizzas and buffalo chicken wings delivered to the house for the staff. And that has touched hearts and lives, and it's making a difference. And it's beautiful, and that's something fairly simple to do. And it touches the heart of people that don't know Jesus, because they're seeing love in action. So that's something pretty simple that can be done.
I love that. And I love the way you all, and I think like you're very representative of the disability ministry leaders in general, but you're really thinking outside the box, and how can we just, love in action. I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
We're looking at doing a parking lot exercise group where you pull in with your parents, pull out your yoga mat, set it on the lot, and do some exercise. And we're starting to plan that with the church here in Strongsville and
Ohio, for those of you who aren't.
Yes, Ohio.
Ohio.
Yeah. We are also doing our bike rider fundraiser next week. We're leaving on Sunday from Edgewater Park in downtown Cleveland by the lake, and we're riding to Cincinnati during the week, and we're going to be joined by some special needs individuals along the way to do like a Zoom exercise class. We had wanted to do it in person, but now we're going to just do it on Zoom. We are going to have some special needs kids and students ride with us for a while. So it's been really good. We've got a good response from the fundraiser, and looking forward to do it. And we will come through Columbus. Amanda, well, what church is that? Is that Vineyard? I think my
yeah,
brother.
Tony, I'm sorry. We're at the, do you guys hear that echoing?
Yeah.
Weird.
I don't.
We are at Vineyard in Westerville, our Vineyard Columbus, and we're located in Westerville. That's our main campus. Come
I think my
us.
brother might go to your church, but
He might.
But anyway,
Tony, which trail are you guys going to be taking through Cincinnati?
well, we're starting at Edgewater Park, and there's a trail that goes from Cleveland, a series of trails from Cleveland to Cincinnati, and you are 85% on trail. We'll hit the tow path down along you guys know what, those local people know what the tow path is, and that'll go towards New Philadelphia. Then we'll cut across west towards Columbus, and we'll come right through Westerville and Sunbury. And then our plan is to do a exercise session right at Nationwide Arena out front in the park, not in the parking lot, but in the plaza there on Wednesday, and then continue riding. And like I said,
if you're not familiar with Ohio geography, this is a long, from Cleveland to Cincinnati, we're talking, if you're driving it, it's hours.
Yeah, it's
So
325 miles.
Yeah, I'm really impressed. That's awesome,
Yeah.
Tony. Thank you.
And Jacob, our son, is going to be riding part of the way with us on a tandem bike.
Okay.
And and then, like I said, we're going to meet with some special needs people and do some exercises and have some fun and that kind of thing. So that's coming up. So yeah, and I am not riding the whole thing, but I'll be riding a portion of it. But I do have 2 brothers that will ride the whole thing, pretty much.
Great. So they can go to Jacob's Ladder Fitness online to
Sure.
read about this.
JacobsLadderFitness.com, You can go there, or you can go to our Facebook page, Jacob's Ladder Special Needs Fitness, and you'll see updates there. And information on the ride. And
it'll,
And Catherine put it in the chat, so you can
good.
click on there.
Thanks.
And see it. So thank you for sharing.
Sure.
All right. Can anybody, can you top that one? I don't know. What else do you have going on? What questions? What ideas?
This past Saturday, well, I work with 3 Young Life clubs in New Jersey, northern or southern New York, and our key leader had a birthday, and so we had a surprise birthday party for her at her house. I mean, she knew something was going on, but not as big as it was going to be. We invited kids, participants in Young Life Capernaum, to come drive by. So we had a bunch that drove by with their parents. Some got out, others just drove by. Then we had a leaders lunch together too. We hadn't seen each other in 11 or 12 weeks, I think. So it was amazing to see everyone again face to face instead of in a Zoom. So that's kind of a different approach, having the kids come to a leader's place for something, but it worked out really well. We had tons of people. We broke the 25 people rule, I think, at one time, but we didn't get arrested for that.
Okay.
But it was a really good event that was way bigger than we expected, and especially with kids coming with their parents. We didn't expect that much.
That's great. Thank you. Yeah, the first time you're back in a group setting, it's like a little weird at first, and then just kind of great, actually. All right, anybody else? Oh, Doc, are you saying something? No, okay. All right, let me just look and see. Anybody else? Okay, yes, Julie.
I just wanted to very briefly say some things about an announcement that came out at our church yesterday. Our pastor did a video and sent it out about the summer plans. And so, you know, he's such an enthusiast anyway, and he gets all excited about everything and makes everybody else excited about it, even when it's not what you really want to do, because you can't, you know. So he was talking about VBS. And so what we're doing for VBS, I was curious about this. It's going to be a 4-week experience. So every Wednesday night, and it's a family affair. So families come together so that they're always responsible for their children, and we don't have to worry about that part. The families come to the sanctuary with all the safety protocols in place, and they're going to do all the goofy stuff on the stage that they normally do for VBS, the staff is, but it's every Wednesday night instead of a whole week full of craziness. It's a once a week night of craziness. So that's one thing I think might be helpful for other people to know what we're doing, because we can meet in the sanctuary. We haven't been, but others have. And then we have 2 camps. One of them is for younger kids and one is for teenagers. And they're not doing anything overnight this time around, but they are doing day stuff. And of course there'll be lots of restrictions with what they do, but they are opening it, and I'm sure the registration will be very restrictive, but at least it's an opportunity for the kids to get together. And then the teenagers is actually going to be family camp. So they're just inviting families to come, whole families to come to that camp to enjoy it during the summer. And then the special needs facility, what they decided to do is just continue what we're already doing and open it during the week, for instead of because a lot of those students will not come to the church. People there, they are going to, you know, a couple of times during the week, and let people come in and do the safety protocols.
Registration.
With, yes, always registering or by invitation, so that we can keep the schedule tight and make sure that everybody stays safe. So just wanted to share those in case that was helpful to anybody.
Thank you. Thank you. And again, the beacons are in Virginia, which is more open. So thank you. Love it. So Brett asked a question in the chat. What inclusive practices are implemented in your special needs programs? And that's probably like a good subject, like for a whole nother roundtable. But would anybody like to just pop in and tell? I'm looking at you, Bronwyn, but
sure, why not? I mean, I think you know, thinking about Corona and pre-Corona and all those things, the things that have stayed. And we build on the relationship part. So like a lot of my volunteers, like we don't necessarily train a whole lot about like, here's what autism looks like and here's what ADHD looks like. Cause like within our population, it looks so different. And so we really focus on here's how you build a relationship with someone and here's how you build a one-to-one relationship with someone and here's how you draw somebody in. Because a lot of the kids and the teens, you know, came into church really disconnected or fearful and whatever. So we had to do a lot of work on here's how you build a relationship and kind of draw them in. We just really focus on get to know your buddy, get to know what calms them down, what amps them up, what do they like, what do they not like. So we do a whole lot of focus around that. And I don't know, I didn't like come in thinking about all that when I first started this job, but you know, I found that was a whole lot more helpful than here's a bunch of training on these various disabilities, which like sometimes we talk about, but that's really not the core of it. It's more about how do you build this relationship. And so that kind of mentality carried over to this like time we're living in now. The like general children's ministry has started to really adopt this because we've had to do those really one-to-one relationships with everyone at home and for everyone at home for so long. So that is something I think is like kind of a hallmark of kind of our inclusive practices, because that's what the kids want, especially now. You know, they want to FaceTime their buddy or they want their buddy to come chalk on their driveway for their birthday or whatever. So those relationships have been really key.
Thank you. Very well put. Yes. Sherry.
I did not introduce myself. I'm Sherry Greenfield from Pennsylvania, York, Pennsylvania, Church of the Open Door. And I'm wondering if his question referred as well to how we involve the individuals in our services and things when we're meeting on Sundays. Is that what you were asking?
Yeah, I guess it's just for me, you know, all week long, I push and push for the education system to become more and more inclusive. And I always just think Sunday morning should be this place of pure inclusion and really challenging the norms of our society. And so I guess I'm just curious, what does this look like? You know, are your pastors differentiating their services and things like that to meet the needs of different people in the congregations and the different programming you have going on in your church? I guess I'm sorry to pose such a general question, and probably Beth, it probably is one that we could discuss in the future. I guess just curiosity of me wondering how inclusive or how connected are the kids with your typical developing peers or the adults in the church setting. So I guess for me, it's just a learning experience to see what is going on out there.
Yeah,
I was going to just mention, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Sherry.
I work mostly with adults in our church. We do have a ministry to both children and adults, but my best suggestion is that you get to know the individuals and you find out how they would really fit into serving in the church. So we have some individuals that actually work in adults who help in a Sunday school classroom with children. We have adults who they just love to help take offering on Sunday. To me, it's getting to know the individual and what they're interested. Some of them would rather not be seen by anyone and stay in more of a setting where they don't get involved, but I think it's a one-on-one basis. And of course, you need to have support of your pastors and your other leaders of the church.
I can jump in. I think it you know, bottom line, I think the goal for everybody is to have as much of an inclusive environment as everybody. It really, as much as possible, it really comes down to each church, what you feel is right for your church. There are some churches that have phenomenal special needs disability ministries, and they have all their individuals with disabilities segregated, and you know, that's what works for them. My preference and what I teach and what, you know, our church does, you know, we cover the age gamut, birth to 71, and everybody is included in their age appropriate classes or developmentally appropriate classes, and you know, have buddies as needed to help. We have adult classes, student classes, everything. But we, you know, our purpose is that we focus on abilities, not their disabilities. We just like Bronwyn said, focus on relationships. And then, you know, the other thing I think that Sherry just said too is, you know, I think it's vital that not just the individuals with special needs, but the family as well, the families with disabilities, that they're active in the church and serve. I think, we need to hold the family at the same standards as everyone else in the church. If your church is requiring other families in the church to serve and be part of small groups, we need to require the same out of families with disabilities. So there should be no difference there. And same thing with nowhere in the Bible does it say only those with an IQ over 75 should be serving or should go into all the world and share the gospel. It says all should. And so we need to help do that and set that up. So that's kind of where my heart is, and helping find a way to do that. And I second what you're saying, that Brett, what I find a lot of times is that kids especially are completely used to it. They don't have an issue with having individuals with disabilities included with them in their Sunday school classes or anything they're doing, because they're so used to it with school. It's the adults that have the issue with it. So that's where it's our job as disability ministry leaders to come through and educate our teachers, educate our volunteers, and then educate the church staff on the importance of it and why you need that inclusion and how to do it and how to accept it. Autism does not need to be the A word in the church. They need to learn that you can accept them and welcome them in, and they have vital part to share with the church. So that just kind of quickly wraps that up. But absolutely, that could be an entire
yes.
long thing. But and then just real quick, and I know we're coming up on the time, I just want two quick things I'll just share from a SOAR standpoint. One, for things that we're doing to include, Beth said earlier, we're hosting a summer camp this summer called SOAR Party at Your House. It's going to be a virtual camp July 20th through 24th, and we're opening it to the entire country, to every church that's out there. It's going to be 2.5 hours of video programming that the family can do at their convenience whenever they want. And then, and actually, BethWe'reNow.org for the website, SOARSpecialNeeds.org.
I knew that.
Yep, we just switched. So old habits are hard to break. Then we will also have a 30-minute interactive session on Zoom. And what we're offering for churches is that you have all your families come together, and then your groups can have their own Zoom interactive session. And you can even have, you could be on it along with our volunteers, where we can have fun time. And it's just going to give your church a great outreach to your individuals this summer. We'll do all the legwork for you. It's $50 for the family, and then they'll have the resources for an entire month. We're also launching family support groups, some family Bible studies, and we'll be doing all those as well. You can be doing those. And then our Talk with Doc is going to be this Friday. This Friday, I've got Lisa Jameson from Walk Right In Ministries, and we're going to be talking on managing morale, tips on how to encourage families with disabilities to survive and just keep that morale up. And it's not just for the family, but it's also for disability ministry leaders to know how you can work with families and keep their morale up, since life is so hard. So I encourage you to sign up for that. You can also register for that at SOARSpecialNeeds.org.
.org. All right. Thank you, Doc. All right. We're almost at the end, so I just have a couple more things. One, thank you, Brett, for bringing up that question. And I think you'll find that when we have our staffing solutions, or whatever it is that we called it, discussion on the 17th, I think you'll get some insight into what different ministries look like at different churches around the country. So tune in for that. There's some really great conversation going on in the chat here on our Zoom session. And I think we should continue that in a roundtable at a future point too. So, because I know, and we'll invite Bronwyn to talk about what's going on at her church and talk more about their buddy program and that type of thing. But really quickly, I have 3 things. So the first one is, I wanted everybody to make a note to check out 2 blog posts from last week that have to do with kind of reopening and what families are feeling. So if you go to keyministry.org, I want you to check out, so Lisa Jameson wrote, same Lisa Jameson that Doc's talking about, Lisa Jameson wrote a post on our Church for Every Child blog. And it was about asking the special needs families what do they want during this transition time, and how do they feel about coming back into corporate worship. The other one was on our special needs parenting blog by Ivana Sandusky, and it has to do with, like, please don't forget about the families that, thank you. Oh, okay, okay. I thought Lisa was on here. Catherine's posting for Lisa in the chat. But it has to do with not forgetting about families that aren't able to come back in person due perhaps to like their child's medical conditions. So I want you to check that out. Secondly, my email address is Beth, B-E-T-H, @keyministry.org. So here's two things I'd like you to email me. So the first one is, I want you to help me brainstorm names for these grab bags that kids would pick up on their way into an outside church service. So like that has something in it like coloring pages, fidgets. If you come up with like a fantastically brilliant, clever name, I'd be eternally grateful. And the second one is Key Ministry is we partner with the Tim Tebow Foundation around, if you're a Night to Shine church, you're familiar with the Shine On initiative. So this is what the Tebow Foundation provides to churches. There are 9 ministries that the Tebow Foundation is partnered with to help equip churches to welcome families impacted by disability, not just to their church on the night of Night to Shine, but throughout the year as well. And as a Shine On ministry partner, we need to provide some testimonies for the Tebow Foundation to share with the 700 churches around the country that are doing Night to Shine. If you have any feedback on how Key Ministry has helped you, has helped your church, has helped your families, would you just send that to me? Just like write a little blurb. Again, it's Beth @keyministry.org. We would love to hear that from you.
Are they, sorry, Beth,
Yeah.
I think they're also accepting video, aren't they?
They are. I will follow up with you if you would be interested in doing video. I would definitely follow up with anybody on that. So, all right. So thank you again for another just like super helpful, encouraging Monday. Thank you. You all make my week, I have to say. We will be here next Monday as well. And I can't wait to hear what you all have going on when we meet again next week. So take care, and we'll see you all next Monday.